Go win, go win, go win, go win, go win, man, go win.
Let's talk about the matchup in L.A. Thursday night football. It's a matchup between the 3-3 Minnesota Vikings, who are traveling to the West Coast to take on the 4-3 L.A Chargers. The Chargers are favored by 3.5 points. It's an 8:15 p.m. kickoff. The over-under for this matchup is 44.5 points. Let's start off with the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are 3-3 coming into this matchup against the Chargers. And I'm looking at the Vikings. They have been the true definition of inconsistent through the first 6 games of the season. They start off the season, week 1, they beat the Bears 27-24. They followed that up with a 22-6 loss to the Atlanta Falcons. They then demolished the Bengals 48-10 in week 3. Week 4, they lost to the Steelers 24-21. Week 5, they beat the Cleveland Browns 21-17. Had a bye week 6. And then week 7, they lost to the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles 28-22. But when I look at the Minnesota Vikings, obviously right now, Carson Wentz is their quarterback. And Kevin O'Connell, he said a few days ago that J.J. McCarthy is getting close to returning back to the field. He's been out a few games with an injury, and he's getting close to returning, but he's not ready yet. So Carson Wentz will get the start for the Minnesota Vikings. And so far this year, Carson Wentz has turned the ball over at a high rate. He got 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 1,072 passing yards, completing 67% of his passes. And that's always been the biggest question when it comes to Carson Wentz. Can Carson Wentz protect the football? And in these last 4 starts for Carson Wentz, he has not protected the football for the Minnesota Vikings. And in his matchup against the Bengals in week 3, Carson Wentz in that game, he went 14 for 20. He threw for 172 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. And then he followed that up in a week 4 matchup against the Steelers. He didn't really play great in that game, but he did throw for over 350 passing yards. He had 2 touchdowns. And there were people that were saying once J.J. McCarthy is healthy, maybe the Vikings and Kevin O'Connell should consider keeping McCarthy on the bench and continue to start Carson Wentz. After these last few games, to me, that would be a mistake. You got to see if J.J. McCarthy can be consistent at the quarterback position and be your franchise quarterback moving forward. Because Carson Wentz is not the answer as your franchise quarterback moving forward. We know that. But we don't know if J.J. McCarthy can be a franchise quarterback. We've only seen J.J. McCarthy play in 2 games. And in those matchups, he went 1-1. And remember, against the Bears in week 1, he had that come from behind win for the Vikings and had that outstanding 4th quarter. I think McCarthy in that game, he put up 21 points in the 4th quarter in week 1 for the Vikings. So to me, once J.J. McCarthy is healthy, he should be the starter for the Minnesota Vikings moving forward. To me, he has not done enough, and I'm talking about Carson Wentz, he's not done enough to be the starter once J.J. McCarthy is actually healthy. Now, I'm looking at the Minnesota Vikings and their ranks offensively. They are ranked bottom half statistically in major offensive stats. They average 343 total yards per game. That's ranked 19th, okay? They average 24 points per game. That's right in the middle of the pack in the NFL, which is ranked 15th. They average 24 points per game. They don't run the ball well. They average 104 rushing yards per game. That's ranked 20th in the NFL. And their passing attack is ranked 17th. They average 215 passing yards per game. So, to me, they have to do a better job offensively at being able to score some points. And they're going to get back Aaron Jones here in a few weeks. He will definitely help. Obviously, the best player offensively is Justin Jefferson. JJ for the season, 34 receptions, 528 receiving yards, 1 touchdown. But in order for the Vikings to possibly contend in the NFC North and be a sleeper in the NFC, they got to get better offensively. I think they have a tremendous offensive mind with Kevin O'Connell as their head coach. We've seen Kevin O'Connell design some great plays offensively for the Vikings, and he's had great moments with very subpar quarterbacks. Look at how great Sam Darnold performed last year with the Minnesota Vikings. That was because of Kevin O'Connell and his development with quarterbacks, similar to Kyle Shanahan. So they got to get better overall as an offense, and they got to get the ball to number 18. Justin Jefferson is still one of the best receivers in pro football. Now, when I look at the L.A. Chargers, what the hell happened to the L.A. Chargers? The Chargers, they have lost 3 of their last 4 games after starting the season off 3-0. And the only game that they won in this 4-game stretch was against the Miami Dolphins, and they almost blew that game. That was in week 6. They almost blew that game against the Miami Dolphins. And we know how bad the Miami Dolphins are as a football team. And so they have not played well in their last 4 games. They got completely blown off the field against the Indianapolis Colts in week 7. And in that game, the Colts dominated the Chargers. They really dominated the Chargers. The Colts had more rushing yards than the Chargers. The Colts, they had more sacks than the Chargers. And there were a lot of empty stats for the Chargers late in that game because they trailed majority of that game. I mean, the Colts, they led at the half. They were up 23-3 over the Chargers. So the Chargers, they start off the season great. And remember, the Chargers, to start the season off, the Chargers, they had 3 straight wins in the AFC West. They beat the Chiefs week 1. They followed that up, and in week 2, they beat the Raiders in Vegas. And then week 3, at home, they beat the Broncos. But since week 3, they have not played well. And they have been a mess as a football team. I'm looking at Justin Herbert for the season. Justin Herbert, 13 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 1,913 passing yards, completing 68% of his passes. But when I look at the Chargers overall as a football team, offensively, with Justin Herbert, they average 391 total yards. That's ranked 2nd in the NFL. But they don't run the football very well. They're ranked 16th in the NFL in rushing yards per game. They average 111 rushing yards per game. They have to improve in their running game if they want to be a playoff team in the AFC. They only average 22 points per game. That's ranked 20th in the NFL. So they got to get better at scoring points once they get in the red zone and also running the football. I'm looking at their rushing attack. They have Kimati Vidal as their leading rusher, 31 carries, 162 rushing yards. Now, they lost Najee Harris earlier in the season, and so that has hurt the Chargers significantly. But they got to get better overall. I believe in their head coach and Jim Harbaugh. I think Jim Harbaugh is one of the best coaches in the NFL. But this Chargers team has to play better because I'm looking at the AFC right now. To me, in the AFC West alone, right now, the Kansas City Chiefs and Denver Broncos are playing better than the L.A Chargers are. The Bills, they're going to get in the AFC East. Patriots are playing better than the Chargers are right now. Okay? In the AFC North, no team is really playing great. So maybe the Chargers get into the playoffs by default because only one team from the AFC North will get in. And in the South, the Colts clearly are playing better than the Chargers, and they beat the Chargers decisively in Week 7. Chargers got to get better if they want to make the playoffs in the AFC. But with all that being said, I believe that Justin Herbert is a better quarterback than Carson Wentz. Jim Harbaugh is a great head coach, and he will have his team prepared for this Thursday night matchup in L.A. at SoFi Stadium. And because of Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh, I'm rolling with the L.A Chargers to beat the Minnesota Vikings in L.A. at SoFi. I'm going Chargers 27, Vikings 21.